Welcome to today's lecture. This is Blessed Elvis. So in today's lesson, we are going to discuss the inverse of the functions. So the inverse of a function can be represented as the power of -1. Let's say we have a function f of x. Whenever you see a function with a power of -1, that's an inverse. It can also be represented as the fraction where you have 1 as the numerator. So whenever you see these two functions, that means you are looking for the inverse. So they cannot ask you directly to say find the inverse, but they can just write to say find this or this. This means you have been asked to find the inverse. So the general concept behind the inverse functions is that you simply have to replace where there is a function with y and then make x the subject of the formula. After you make x the subject of the formula, then you replace where there is y in the expression with x, and where there is x with the inverse function. Let's say this one. However, I am just using f of x, but they can use different letters. They can use g of x, they can use h of x, or any other letter. Okay? And then in the expression, it's not only x that can be present. There you can have even f of a. So the general concept here is that you replace this with y and then make what's here the subject of the formula. In this case, you make a the subject of the formula. When you make a the subject of the formula, then you make y, rather you replace with x, or rather with a in this case, where there is y, and then you are done. Okay, let's look at different examples. Let's say you have a function f of x equals to x plus 1, and then you have been asked to find f of x power -1. So what does this mean? It simply means that you have been asked to find the what? The inverse. So let's do that. So the first step here is to replace where there is this function with y. So in this case, we are going to have y, or you say let f of x equals to what? Equals to y. So you're going to have y equals to x plus 1. Then make x the subject of the formula. So in this case, we're going to take this +1 to the left side so that you can just simply remain with what? With x, since we are looking for x here. So it's going to be y. When +1 comes to the left side, it's going to be -1. So here we just remain with what? With x. This is the same as saying x equals to y minus 1. So where there is x here, you have to replace with what? With this. So we're going to have f of x inverse, that's power -1, equals to, where there is y, we are going to replace with x minus 1. So this is the answer. So let's look at another example. Let's say you have g of x, let's say equals to x over 2. So in this case, where there is this, you simply replace. Let's say you have been given this here, and then they say find the inverse. So you simply replace where there is g of x with what? With y. So let's do that. So y is going to be equal to x over 2. Then let's make x the subject of the formula. So in this case, we're going to cross multiply. So x, rather 1 multiplied by x here, we're going to have x. And then 2 multiplied by y here, we're going to have 2y. So where there is this x, we are going to replace with what? With this function here. So we're going to have g of x inverse equals to, where there is y, we are going to replace with what? With x, since there is x in here. So we're going to have 2x. So this is the inverse. Let's say you also have been given h of a equals to, let's say in this case, 2a minus 5. And then you have been asked to find h of a inverse. So in this case, where there is this, you simply have to replace with what? With y. So y equals to, let's say, h of a. So where there is h of a, we're going to replace with y. So y equals to 2a minus 5. And then let's make a the subject of the formula. So this one here is going to come to the left side. So we're going to have y positive 5. When negative 5 comes to the left side, it becomes positive. So in this case, then let's divide 2 to both sides. Okay, let me use the font. So to make a the subject, we simply have to divide 2 to both sides here and there. So in this case, this and that will cancel, and then we are going to remain with y plus 5 over 2 equals to a. So this is the same as a equals to y plus 5 over 2. So where there is a, we're going to replace with h of a power negative 1. So in this case, we're going to have h of a power negative 1. And then this equals to, where there is y, we're going to replace with the variable that's present in the expression, that is a. So it's going to be a plus 5 over 2. So this is the inverse. Now let's look at one last example. Let's say you have f of x equals to x plus 5 over x minus, let's say, 3. And then you have been asked to find the inverse of this function. How can we go about it? So as usual, where there is this function, we're going to replace with what? Y. And then make x the subject of the formula. So we're going to have this. So let's cross multiply. So we're going to have x, or rather you can begin with whatever you begin with when it comes to multiplying here, does not matter. So we are going to multiply these two. So y multiplied by, throughout in here, you're going to have y multiplied by x here, it's going to be xy. And then y multiplied by negative 3, you're going to have negative 3y equals to 1 multiplied by x, you're going to have x plus 1 multiplied by 5, it's simply 5. So let's make x the subject of the formula. Since we want to make x the subject of the formula, this element here which has x, it's going to come to the left side. And this one here which has y, is going to come to the right side, since we don't need it anymore. So in this case then, we're going to have xy. When this positive x comes to the left side, it's going to be negative, equals to, here we remain with what? 5. When this negative 3y comes to the right side, it's going to become positive. So what we have here, we simply have to factorize x since it's common. So when we factorize x, we're going to have x, and then here we're going to remain with what? Y minus, here when we remove x, we're going to remain with 1, because 1 multiplied by x, it's x. So it's 1 equals to whatever we have on the right side, that's 5 plus 3y. Then let's divide y minus 1 to both sides. So we're going to have y minus 1 here and there. So this and that will cancel. And then, okay, let me just wrap some of the information that we don't need anymore here, so that we can have the whole space for us to write from. So in this case then, we're going to have here, just going to remain with x. So it's going to be x equals to the right side, we're going to remain with 5 plus 3y over y minus 1. So where there is x, we're going to replace with the inverse function, that is f of x power negative 1 equals to, where there is y in the expression, we're going to replace with x. So in this case, it's going to be 3x over x minus 1. So this is the answer. So hopefully you have gotten the concept, and that's all for this video. Thanks once again guys for staying this far. Please like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification button so that you are updated whenever I upload a new video. Stay blessed.